So diffusion is the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Right? The way that we're going to look at this, we're going to talk about what happens at the cell membrane. So diffusion can happen in two ways. If we're looking at small molecules, you can have simple diffusion. Simple diffusion is where the molecules pass straight through that cell membrane. And molecules can pass straight through the cell membrane because they're not very big. If we start looking at larger molecules, then we have to have something called facilitated diffusion. So facilitated diffusion is where you've got larger molecules still going from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, but they need to move through different channels, right? So they move through channel proteins into the cell, right? Because the channel protein is a big gap, it's almost like a big hole in the cell that these larger molecules can go and move through. But you're still going from an area of high concentration to low concentration. So if you had something like, right, simple ions, so if you wanted sodium ions or something to go and move it, right, sodium ions is a bad example, but if you wanted simple molecules to move through, but if you wanted something bigger like glucose to move into the cell, then it would need to move through a channel protein. The next movement of things that I want to talk about is osmosis. Right, remember, all osmosis is where we go in and we're talking about water moving from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And as it moves, it's moving through a semi-permeable or a partially permeable membrane. So osmosis, same as diffusion, requires no energy. So you can refer to it as a passive process, but it's going from an area of high concentration to a low concentration. You must know the definition of it. So the definition is movement of water from high to low concentration through a partially permeable or a semi-permeable membrane. Right, the last type or the last way that molecules can move into the cell is by active transport. Active transport is where we're going and we're moving molecules from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration. So we're moving molecules against the concentration gradient. Because we're moving it against the concentration gradient, you need to use some sort of pump or carrier protein or something. Because that's physically going to have to go and move, right? So if this is our sodium potassium pump that's getting caught on the membrane as it goes round, it's physically got to move round, right? If it's moving round, it requires some energy to do that. The way or the place that it gets the energy from is released by the mitochondria during the respiration using glucose, and it gets the energy in the form of ATP. That little bit of energy goes and it gives it enough energy so it can go, right, in real life a protein doesn't sit there spinning, a protein goes and deforms and changes shape, but it gives it that energy to go and deform and change shape so it can carry those molecules into the cell, right? So they are the three ways that molecules, so water, simple molecules, larger molecules, can go and be transported into the cell.